Why are Americans so obsessed with guns? Like seriously, what's so unique with America that makes so many people resistant to passing any form of gun control legislation? Well, I think the answer is best outlined in Roxane Dunbar Ortiz's book Loaded, but I'll give a quick explanation here. And basically, the answer is racialized fear. In every single era of American history, white people have told each other to fear their racial groups, and from this fear came the idea that they need to be armed and militarized to protect themselves. And in case you're wondering, the Second Amendment was not the first law to deal with guns in America. Almost 100 years earlier, there were laws that were pretty much the opposite of gun control, and that they forced Americans to have guns. In 1658, the Virginia colony passed a law that required every home to have a firearm, and even gave loans to people that couldn't afford them. And even earlier in 1632, New England colonial governments passed a law that required every adult male to have a firearm, plus 2 pounds of gunpowder and 10 pounds of bullets. But why was this? Well, as Ortiz writes, settler militias and armed households were institutionalized for the destruction and control of native peoples, communities, and nations. In other words, this project of deputizing citizens in an effort to colonize the nation was a uniquely American endeavor that led to the uniquely American gun culture that we have today. But let's more clearly trace it from then till now. So in the next century, in the 1700s, America's earliest folk heroes like Daniel Boone and Robert Rogers were born of this idea of armed commoners leading militiamen westward and killing Native Americans to expand the territory of what would become the United States. And as Sally E. Haddon covers in her book in the 1800s, the commoners from these militias then formed the armed slave patrols as the increase of black resistance and rebellions stoked white American fears of an overthrow of the cotton-based economy. With the idea of manifest destiny, the racialized other became Native Americans on the West Coast, and the glorified armed commoner became the gun-toting cowboy, which is still a popular American icon to this day. And following the Civil War, the armed commoner became the Klan member who conducted armed vigilantism against the threat of Negro rule. This dynamic was even immortalized in the movie The Birth of a Nation, which became the first film ever to be shown inside the White House. And I almost forgot to mention, but in each of these cases when black or indigenous people had guns, it became the few times where gun control was institutionalized, or it became a reason for white mobs to enact violence against them. And make no mistake, even the ideology that centers gun control debates today uses the same racialized framework. As explained in this book, Gunfight, today's guns rights messaging is grounded in gun populism and the hypothetical of a home invasion, and the person should be able to protect their family with a gun in the home. But if you dig deeper into this messaging, you'll find that ever since the war on crime, the racialized other in this case became stereotypes of poor, black, or Latina thugs, and the glorified armed commoner became white fathers or mothers trying to protect their children. These dog whistles are notably at the center of former NRA President Marion Hammer's 1996 speech at the Dallas NRA convention. But don't take my word for it, read this report to learn more about that. This is also the basis of many stand your ground laws, which we know protected the man who murdered Trayvon Martin. And it's these centuries-old ideas that drive the irrational anxiety that many Americans have with passing gun safety legislation. But does this make sense to you, or do you want me to go deeper into this topic? Let me know in the comments and follow for more.